Hi, hope everybody's doing good. If you saw the intro to my video, you saw that I have a few pictures of me from 2 years ago. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about my journey. I have been overweight my entire life. You know, always whenever you're a kid and you're trying to find clothes, you had to go like way up to a size. I think I was like maybe 9 or 10 years old, and I had to have women, size clothing. And I remember one day, I'll never forget this, and I don't know why it really sticks out in my mind. When I was in elementary school, I was in elementary school, we had to do like a thing to see how much we would weigh on the moon, right? So you had to put in a formula, and then you had to see like how much you weigh, and then by the formula that would tell you how much that you would weigh in on the moon. And I'm telling you guys, I weighed like 20 more pounds than my teacher. Just things like that. Like, it was always harder being big. I feel like I always got treated differently. Like, that's for sure. Like, that's no doubt. You guys see anybody like overweight, like, you get treated differently. And so life just went on, and every year I just gained a little more weight and a little more weight and a little more weight. And I always had this whole like fuck it mentality, just like whatever, doesn't matter. And so things, just little by little, and then it got to the point where whenever you went into a clothing store, you knew you couldn't find stuff for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, there's a point where you just get bigger and bigger to where you just know you can't even find anything, and then you only have like maybe one store you can choose from, and then the things are just not, because I've always been into fashion, and like even you know what I mean, it doesn't matter what size I am, I always dress. And I like to have nice clothes, I like to look nice, I'm not a sweatpant girl, like, so you realize that your choices get more limited and more limited, as you go by. But from my personal experience, I just gained, maybe 15 pounds a year. And then it just got to the point where I was over 400 pounds. And something that's really crazy about this situation is that I didn't even know I was 400 pounds. Like, I thought I looked good. Like, something is wrong. Because every time I looked in the mirror, I swear I looked half the size of what I was. And I'll tell you later how I realized that. So, anyways, so then I'm pregnant, and I had to go to like a certain hospital because I was overweight. It was harder to find the baby. I mean, there was all these risks involved. But I was always, like I said, I was always a fuck it person. I ate whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I never restricted myself. I never, did like diets. I was just I had this whole like mentality, like, I want it and I'm going to eat it and that's it. Right? So I am 30 years old. I have a baby. And right after I have a baby, like, I notice something is like different. And so after I had the baby, I just started like getting sick all the time, and I wasn't understanding it. And I just had really bad like diarrhea and stomach pain and just feeling like not myself. And so I don't know, several weeks went by, and I was still really confused about what was going on. And I finally decided that like maybe it was something I was eating. So I really thought maybe it was lactose. Maybe it was just cheese and milk and stuff like that. So I went to the doctor, and I'm like, well, I think something's going on with me with like lactose. And she told me that the symptoms that I have are not what you would have with the lactose intolerance. Like, lactose intolerance is mainly stomach pain, and like having the extreme diarrhea and stuff like that is really a sign that there's something going on with gluten. And that made me laugh, y'all. Because like, as a waitress, like, my number one pet peeve before all of this was people that asked for gluten-free. Like, legit. It was just like karma had just really came. But to explain myself just for a second about that, I didn't like that because people like would come to me and be like, what's gluten-free, what can I eat, but they put it in a way that it was my responsibility to know what they could and couldn't eat. And I feel like if you have an allergy or if you have something you can't eat, like I feel like it's your responsibility to know what you can and cannot eat. Okay? Like these people didn't seem to be like very like informed, on what was going on. And that's whenever like the fad, thing kind of first came out. So I just didn't like that like customers put that on me as like a pressure, like of course we can have a communication about it and you can ask me questions. I'll answer any questions you have, but it's not my responsibility, you know what I mean, to know exactly what that stuff is. And this was several years ago before gluten was as big as what it is now. So anyways, they told me that it would be a gluten allergy and that gluten, no, they told me that gluten is making me feel bad. And I'm like, what? Total denial. Total denial. So then I left the doctor and I just realized that like every time I started eating something, I just immediately would get sick. And it just took enough times for me being sick for me to be like, there's something to this and I think the doctor's right. So I went back to the doctor and they did a celiac test. My celiac test came back positive, and that's been the rest of my life now. And at first I was very like, what the fuck? But here's the thing is people are like, well, how can you do that? How can you, if you get as sick as what I get sick, if you get sick like the people, that are intolerant, that are allergic, that have celiac, whatever it is, you won't do that to yourself because it's painful and it's a whole process. You know what I mean? So, the doctor explained to me that celiac can activate in your system when you're under a stressful situation and it's something that's in your genetics. Nobody in my family that I knew of at the time had it. And so she told me that it's very common after childbirth that can happen. And that's exactly what happened to me. At 30 years old, I had a baby and it activated. And so I began, to try to do my gluten-free life. And I mean, the good thing for me is like, I really wasn't too much of a bread person anyways. So that wasn't a big deal, but I was like Kentucky Fried Chicken's #1 fan. And I love, I grew up 20 years in Georgia, like macaroni and cheese. You're kidding me? So doing baby steps, trying to understand and help myself feel better. And we all have accidents. I've had several accidents. I think the worst accident that I had was I had finally, after 2 months, decided to go to a restaurant. And when I did, like my husband loves sushi. So I'm like, okay, I can do sushi, but I need to be like really picky. So I just need to make sure that nothing's fried. Like in my mind, I was thinking that I just needed to know nothing was fried, like or breaded. So I got a California roll and I dipped that sucker in soy sauce and put it in my mouth. And I swear to God, y'all, after like 60 seconds, I started I felt like I was spacing out of my body. Like I felt like I was disassociating. Like it was crazy. And my husband's like, what's wrong with you? What's going on? And so I went and I told the waitress and I'm like, I don't know, I'm gluten-free, but like, there's nothing breaded. Like, what's going on? And she's like, sister, I don't even know why you're here. I don't even know why you're eating here if you have celiac. I'm like, what? And that's when she explained to me that a lot of imitation crab has wheat in it. Soy sauce has wheat in it. That blew my mind. That was a time when I really broke the fuck down because I felt like I knew what I was doing. You know what I mean? And that was a really big surprise to me. And her saying like, why are you here? Why are you even eating here? If you have this condition was just really hard because a lot of us in the celiac community, like we just want to be normal and feel normal. And we don't want to have all these kind of conversations that we have to do. So anyways, that's how you learn, right? So as life started going on, I got smarter about everything and I got smarter about what I eat. And whenever I did that, like life started to change. My mindset started to change, which was really different. It really started to change on the way that I think about food. I started looking at food instead of I want it, fuck it, I'm craving it, fuck it. I started thinking about what does my body really need? What do I really need? And it became really easy just to eat fruit and vegetables and meat. Protein, like, I just eat meat and vegetables, meat and vegetables. We're good, we're good. But as time went by, like, I didn't even realize it. Like, I lost over 100 pounds, and that was a super, super cool thing because I was at the point after I had my daughter, I'm a waitress, and I felt like I couldn't walk across the restaurant. I was struggling like you can't believe. I lived in an apartment on the third floor trying to carry the baby seat and the baby bag and being 400 pounds going up the stairs. My heart hurt. Like I had pain in my heart. I even to have sex, like I had pain in my heart. Like I couldn't do much without that feeling. And it was scary. And you had to come to the point where you're like, do I want to live a long life? And I was trying to imagine how long am I going to live? And is this my destiny? Is this my destiny to only make it in my 30s? But being diagnosed with celiac is what changed everything. And so, after that, weight just started falling off of me. And like I said, I lost 100 pounds without doing any exercise. And I just got to be smart about it. And I'm like, you go through stages where you're scared of everything, where you have anxiety on food, where you make mistakes and then you feel like dumb, you know what I mean? Or you just don't like going through having to think about things, having to look at labels, having to ask questions, you know what I mean? Like having to talk about your disease is not easy. So I had some dark days, but I've had so much more light days. I was a size 26 and I'm an 18. And so, it's been so much fun to be able to get new clothes and actually fit into things that come in stores and, feeling better. Even my boss that's known me for years, he's like, oh my God, you actually move. I didn't know at the time, but apparently I walked really slow and I didn't know that. And here's the other thing. So remember the part that I was telling you about what I saw in the mirror was not what it was? So a few months after I was diagnosed, I had a friend and we just used to we used to work together, but we didn't work together anymore. And we used to make Snapchat videos all the time. So one time I just sent him a couple videos of memories that we had. He sent me some videos back. I didn't know who the person was. I cannot believe 2 years later getting these videos and watching them and not knowing who you are, not recognizing yourself. I had no idea I was that size, none at all. The wonderful thing was my husband fell in love with me at this time at 400 pounds, and so, you know what I mean? That was really a nice, that was a beautiful thing. But so life has just gotten better, and I'm really strong on my gluten-free game. I know my shit. I can read a label in seconds, you know what I mean? And I just really got my confidence. And it was a hard time with family because, well, my mom was like, nobody has this in the family. I don't understand. It was almost to the point of accusing me of lying. And so, and actually, my aunt got diagnosed maybe a little over a year after I did, so that was kind of the boom moment where we accepted that it's in our family and, you know what I mean, that's something that is real. And so we just adjust. And I feel better, guys. I look at food differently. I never would have been someone that worries about chemicals and all this stuff. It just opened up my mind about everything that the United States sells and other countries make it illegal. It's really crazy about dyes and colors and preservatives and flavorings. And I never used to be that girl. And so I've actually turned in to be just a completely different person on how I think about food, what my body needs. I never thought I would be this whole like naturalist, you know what I mean? And I only want natural food, and I do. And I've just come a long way. In the beginning, I couldn't tolerate lactose though. I really couldn't. I really couldn't do cheese. I really couldn't do stuff like that. And that was really, really hard because that was really something that I was obsessed with. But now that I've just gotten stronger, I actually can tolerate some lactose at this point, and I do great. And you know what I mean? I'm really thankful for that. Some people cannot ever tolerate lactose, but once you become gluten-free and your body starts healing, your stomach and your gut starts healing, then some of us, and I was one of us, that I can tolerate that. So I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful. Cheese, that was a hard one. That was a hard, I went, I don't know, maybe 6 months without cheese, and then I started doing a little bit of cheese. I didn't eat sour cream for 2 years. I didn't, I really don't mess with milk. But anyways, though that was just a slow process as my body is getting better. And so I'm just forever grateful. And I'm grateful that everything changed my whole life, my mindset, my body, And so we're just rocking and rolling, and I feel like I have a lot more of a promising life ahead of me. So I'm just really thankful for celiac, and I'm proud for changing my mindset. And so I just feel like I'm a better, happier, healthier person. So you never know. But thank you guys for listening so much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to post some after pictures for you, and thank you so much for your time, and you guys have a wonderful day.